Our next presentation is with the Chief Security Officer of Case Western Reserve University, Tom Hsu. The presentation is about single sign-on and Duo integration. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Jay. Good morning, everybody. We're on the cusp of a new transition here for our single sign-on environment, and I want to make sure that our community is up to date on all the details specifically on the transition as we add two-factor authentication to single sign-on. Briefly, a reminder for those of you who may be unfamiliar with two-factor authentication, it's the second factor to log in. User ID and password would be considered your first factor. We're using Duo Security as a third-party or off-site system that you can use to collect a second code. You enter that as your second password. It's going to be used across the campus for anything that uses university authentication. Our strategy is to apply it via certain software applications or user types. The current project discussion will be the conclusion of this presentation. So again, we're trying to get it all involved with the university single sign-on environment. One of the issues that we're trying to solve here or prevent attacks using this security technology is to prevent unauthorized access to your university account. I would just take a side note. Anyone who has your user ID and password, either via phishing or from like the LinkedIn breach, has full access to everything that you can do. So in our particular case, we want to prevent that by ensuring that the user who is logged in is the user who's been authorized to access the services. So phishing is one example that two-factor authentication interrupts, as well as account sharing, which wink, wink, nudge, nudge, does happen on occasion, and we do want to prevent that because everyone is accountable to the university for their own individual account actions. A quick summary about us using Duo Security. The university has about 12,000, almost 13,000 users now enrolled and successfully using Duo two-factor authentication as we've rolled it out to the VPN environment about a year and a half ago. That's been the prelude to getting us ready to tie it to single sign-on. We now do have single sign-on now integrated in a test environment, and here's what it will look like. You would hit the single sign-on page with the familiar user ID and password login information. Then, after successfully logging in with the university credentials, you'd be presented with this page that shows the choice for the second factor authentication. Reminding you, if you can look at the Duo documentation on the security website, in particular, we want to make sure you can use the push feature or the passcode feature, or you can have it call you to your enrolled phone. In this demo, we used the enter the passcode from the mobile app. So you'd be presented with by clicking here, you would add to your code and clicking login, and then a successful login. It says it's sending the login request to your device. So our overall goal is to reduce the impact of stolen credentials. Our schedule right now is working to, we've built a user base, we've now added to single sign-on, and we're doing some testing. Other services can still rely on VPN if they're configured so that only campus users or on campus, on university networks can access them. Our schedule now is we've completed the update to CAS 4.1, which is the software supporting our single sign-on solution. We did the security update in November, and now we've added the multi-factor overlay. We're building our test procedures, and I want to make sure you know that we are aiming at normal users as opposed to the super user type people who can figure out all the problems, which actually is most of our university community. We're aiming at deploying this in February to March. Right now, we are testing it. If you're interested in being a test user, please send us an email to security@case.edu. We do have 2 or 3 people who have volunteered as lab science projects to help us ensure that the usability and the documentation is up to snuff to meet the high standards that the university expects. So now it's time for questions and your feedback. Jay, you got any questions for us?
Yes, Tom, a few of them here. How should we get ready, as an end user, for the Duo security implementation?
Oh, great question. First thing is make sure you're using it with VPN, so ensuring that you have a smartphone enrolled or you have another process, at least a landline telephone, and you can use your university landline as your second factor as well. So going to the security page or going to help and looking for the UTech information security page has all the videos on how to enroll. That's the best preparation, being enrolled, using it once or twice, to being prepared.
Tom, we got another one here from the chat room. How will Duo authentication work with Shibboleth?
It'll be seamless. Essentially, if you have a Shibboleth service and the user signed up for Duo authentication, you will see the same second factor window as we described here with single sign-on. That's because the university uses single sign-on to support Shibboleth. So you will see pretty much the same experience. It will work the same way. And we are going to be doing a number of our services that use Shibboleth as our authentication mechanism. For those of you unfamiliar with Shibboleth, that's the federated authentication service. So if you have a service that requires the university to log in, but it's not a university system, it will use Shibboleth. A great example of this is the EDUCAUSE website.
Hey, Tom, can you tell us a little bit about the resources that'll be available to help us once we do the transition?
Well, the resources that we have available in particular are to help specifically people that don't have smartphones. There are a small number of those. You know who you are. You're probably not watching if you don't have a smartphone. But in particular, we do have training and video resources and a good deal of help services. But we aren't necessarily going to be buying smartphones for people. That is, an individual departmental decision. But the main policy resource that's available is that we are authorizing installing the application, which is a free application, the Duo mobile app, on personal devices. That's a given, and that's where we're going already. Additionally, we will be doing some seminars once we have the testing complete, just to ensure that people know what's going on. But it's very simple, and we do have a good body of users who are using it, so we're not really worried that the system won't work. It will be just helping new users get familiar and acclimated with the two-factor cycle.
Hey, Tom, another one here from the chat room. Who will determine what applications will use Duo with their SSO integration?
The system owner. So in particular, one example of places that we do want to protect with single sign-on is the human capital management system, which is a juicy target for mostly attack and theft, and it's a place to get to your information, particularly individual information. So single sign-on will very likely be one of the top services. Things that we really want to ensure are not targeted by attacks. Google Apps will definitely be one of those because we do get phishing attacks, and attackers like to log in to send phishing messages.